Daffodils are blooming, life is coming back to the trees, in and out of another season, getting caught up in the weeds. When I close my eyes and listen, I hear the wind.
Welcome to the Every.Thing.After podcast. I'm your host, Rob, and my guest this week is Dr. Shap Malek-Morvai of Lhyme Food Fusion, a food blogger out of Nashville who mixes music with amazing food recipes inspired by conversations she has with musicians. And she's a doctor of education. Congratulations on graduating with your doctorate, and thank you for being on the Every.Thing.After podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I just love your blog and your content. So I'm a photographer and I review concerts and we talk with musicians and bands here on this podcast. So I love your food photography. Everything looks so amazing. And I just love how it pairs with music, which kind of like a fine wine, I guess. And it's just very inspirational. And this podcast, just to give you a little bit background on us, is like really at its heart is about creative people pursuing their passions and continuing to find ways, some new and maybe some previously shelved or abandoned, to express their creativity and just put good out in the world, even if it's often difficult to do so as the world seems to shift further and further toward the void. But when I see someone who is obviously doing something with love and passion and certainly putting something good and delicious out in the world, I just have to try to get him on the podcast, which is why I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
That's so great. So I really love to hear how you got started with your food blog, and it's just a little bit of your origin story. And how long have you been doing it for?
So technically I've been doing it since 2012.
Okay.
So I actually came up with the idea of merging food and music together just on the porch of my apartment. I was just sitting outside one day and I was like, I love these two things. I've done these two things. And it was in the era of when kind of like the chef vibe, the chef shows and all the stuff was starting to really come out. And then blogging was starting to become more and more prominent as well. And I was like, nobody has a blog where they completely fuse the write-up on food and music. And so originally I have no background in photography. I mean, just pictures with my phone. I had no clue really what I was doing. And even from a writing standpoint, of course, I've always loved writing, but blogging is a whole different perspective, also writing articles on musicians. And originally I started just looking up artists online and trying to find what foods they loved, and I would write an article about them and say, oh, I did Chris Mann, we're going to do manicotti for Chris Mann or something funny. And then, over time, I just kind of started a lot of trial and error, practicing photography. My pictures got better, learning about different backgrounds that you can use, looking at other food bloggers and how they style the food. And then I took some time off to pursue my master's, my MBA, and as you know, my doctorate. And most recently, I fused interviews. So now it's completely a collaborative approach where I interview them, we do a write-up, it's completely collaborative. So
I think that's so cool. I think it's really great. I think that, they always say, is it that we eat with our eyes first?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Food is a very visual thing. I think your food just looks amazing, and I know it's also delicious. I could just,
Thank
you can just tell. But
absolutely.
I think similarly, like we consume music and art, right? I mean, not in the same way that we consume food, but like through our ears and through our senses, through our emotions and things like that. And so I think it's just really is just a perfect marriage. And I think that you do it so amazingly well.
Thank you.
And you talk to an artist and you kind of get to know them through their taste, right?
Yes,
and you what we eat, I think it can say a lot about who we are as people and who we are as artists and who we are as musicians. And I think you really get at that with your blog. And I think it's just incredible.
Absolutely. And one of the big things I tried to capture is the vibe of nostalgia. So I always ask the artists to tell me a dish that sparks a sense of nostalgia for them. Whether that's a meal they ate as a kid, maybe they went somewhere with their family, maybe a relative or a partner made. And that kind of opens up the story in the article to a different vibe, because they always end up sharing a story or something about them that hasn't been captured in other music articles. You know, most of the time we want to know their singles, when the album's going to drop, where's the tour dates, which I capture that too. But I also want more of their story.
I think that you're getting to a level of personality and just their person that I think that a lot of interviewers aren't going to get to, because they're not going that deep with it. So I've been just salivating over a lot of the stuff that you've been putting up on the Instagram channel and everything lately. And I want to just list off a couple of my favorites. And then I want to ask you about some of your favorites and some of the ones that were a little more surprising for you. So you talked about nostalgia. So the almond flour cosmic brownies, just because, I mean, that really brings back memories. My kids had those in our house constantly growing up. So that's something that I had to put up there. It's seemingly simple, but it looks just like the store bought, like your dish that you posted and everything, of course. So that brings back a flood of memories. And of course, that came from a Nashville-based musician, Gwen Levin of Gwen Levin and the Breakdown. So that's one that struck me as just like, wow, nostalgia, absolutely. And then here just recently, the spicy Cajun boiled peanuts. I'm a huge fan of spice and peanut butter and I guess peanuts and so that came from a singer named Jemiah.
Jemiah Hudson.
So that one stood out to me. And then a little further down in the feed, Cherry Coke barbecue smoked ribs.
I did a Halloween one. That was really fun. That was my fun spooky Halloween one I did for the seances.
That was a good one. That's one I have to. That's going in my recipe book, because I'm gonna have to try that out. That sounds amazing.
And I had a lot of fun doing those features, because with Jemiah, it was, she had a lot of different things, but she had a snack, and I don't ever get to make a snack. How often do you? So she was like, I love boiled peanuts, and I was like, that's random. I think that's one of the advantages of Lhyme is nobody eats the same thing. Everybody has a different tie or a sense of nostalgia to something. You might have a weird tweak to it, but she's like, my favorite memory is eating boiled peanuts, And then I have Gwen Levy, who says, I love brownies and keto brownies, but I'm also gluten-free and sugar-free. So I was like, oh, but she's got a cosmic vibe. And I wanted to pick up on that with the article. So we did almond flour, did date sweetened chocolate chips to make a ganache, and sugar-free. So it's healthy, and it did taste really good. I got a thumbs up from my husband, so I know it was good.
Yeah.
So there you go.
First test you have to pass, probably, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's a little bit like being, I guess I could describe it as almost being in a random culinary school, because I don't know how to make all of these dishes. And then, once I figure it out, I have to figure out once I figure out what I'm going to make, I have to figure out how to make it and all that. So,
well, Dr. Shap, I think you should have your own Food Network show. I think you're destined for it, because I could see it happening. Just musicians on your Food Network show. It's almost like you said, a little bit like, because my wife and I, we tend to watch Food Network stuff from time to time. We get into a spot where we're just like, we have so much TV and so much stuff to catch up on, but you know what, I'd rather just watch like a cooking competition show and just turn my brain off a little bit for a minute and watch people do something they're passionate about. But I think of it a little bit like Chopped, like they get a basket and it's just full of like all these ingredients and just like, oh, make something delicious out of it. And it's a little bit like that, because like these artists are giving you inspiration, but then you're really like turning it into art and making it sort of sing on its own. So I think that's just really cool and incredible. You need to be on the Food Network. So we're going to put that out there. This podcast too is about manifesting things. So that's what I'm manifesting for you.
I appreciate you putting that out in the universe. Thank you.
So tell me about some of the ones that you've done that have been surprising to you, or some of your favorites. Have there been any? Yeah, I guess the surprising part of it is like someone who gave you something that was just sort of out of left field. You wouldn't have expected it from them.
So one of I think one of the toughest features I've ever had to do was I did this hip hop artist named Cannon, and he's an amazing speed rapper. I think that whole experience, I'll take it as a challenge as well as a really meaningful experience, because when I did the interview, we had a really, really meaningful conversation about his journey through his craft, then food, and all these things. Then I come up with his favorite thing is raspberry cheesecake, lemon cheesecake, and things like that. So I have to make this. I decide I'm going to make like a fusion, because when I'm doing their art, when I'm doing their features and things like that, I look at their art, I look at their photography, I listen to their music. And so when I listened to him, he had some footage of himself in like pink shorts and like this yellow top, and I was like, oh, we should do lemon raspberry cheesecake kind of vibe, you know. And so then I picked that, I listened to his music, and that cheesecake was really tough to make, because I had to make the lemon base, then I have a raspberry sauce, then I have these dipped lady fingers on top, and it has to come out perfect. I tell you, I made that cheesecake 3 times before it was like photography worthy for me to, and I felt like I had mastered it. So my husband was laughing when I was doing it, because I was cursing in the kitchen when it would come out. I was like, oh, damn it, it didn't come out the right way. And it's like, again, like the culinary school, where I'm determined to capture the vibe of the artist, and I feel like this dish will. And it covers his color scheme, it covers his energy, all that. But sometimes I don't know what the hell I'm doing when I get in the kitchen. I'm just trying, Yeah.
It's funny is that you said you had to make it 3 times before it was photo worthy, but I bet the first 2 were still delicious.
Yes, my husband was.
I bet they didn't go right into the garbage can.
Guy. Yes, he loves raspberry. He loves lemon, key lime pie, lemony type thing. So he was my taste tester, and he was trying it, and it's just the consistency, or the slice has to come out, and the layers have to show just perfectly, And so that's the hard part of photography, and that as a photographer, it's like I have to get the right shot,
Like I said, I bet the mistakes that come out of your Lhyme kitchen are just as delicious, and so the people who get to eat maybe the things that aren't quite right for the photo, but that's great.
Yeah, and I had another artist I did that was the #1 Afro beat artist in the UK. His name is Great Adams, and I got to make jollof rice. I've never made jollof rice before. I had to watch all these jollof rice tutorials to figure out what I was doing, how it's supposed to taste. Because there's some of the dishes where it's a cultural variation, right? And so you have to understand for the authenticity of the dish, right? I want to be respectful to the artist's culture and heritage. I don't want to just mash up and create something very gentrified or not authentic. And so it's almost like a culinary school research project. I'm sitting there watching TikToks and IG all about jollof rice and learning all the different ways you can make it. And it ended up being one of my favorite dishes to eat. That I highly recommend, jollof rice. That I've added to our rotation. That's a good one. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I had fun with Derek Webb. He recently released an album called The Survival Songs that's geared towards LGBTQ plus youth. He loves plain cheesecake, and he loves Life cereal. So I decided to make a cheesecake with the Life cereal crust. I was like, I don't know, some of those things just kind of come to me, and so it's just listening to his music.
It also looked delicious. I'm a big cheesecake fan myself, so it looked amazing.
It was really good. That one's a good one too. Yeah, that was a good one. Got a thumbs up from that one for the husband. Just some really cool artists. I learned how to make a very specific type of Japanese ramen for Tim Gent. It was on the spicier side. Learning how to make soy eggs and doing the I guess the runny egg vibe that everybody likes. The jammy egg, that's what everybody calls it. The jammy egg, and just figuring out how to do that, and then making sure it's authentic in the ramen. But also it's hard because, you have to stage and plate everything with the vibe and the energy of the artist, right? So the seances is a good example that you gave me, where I was going around shopping for a Ouija board in the middle of the day because I was like, I need a Ouija board to make this dish look good, you know? It's just things like that you gotta think about. And I know it's a crazy thing to think about, but that's how I feel when I want to do it. I want to make sure it captures the artist.
You didn't already have a Ouija board in the bottom of your closet somewhere?
No, I was like, this is the time when I should not have given it away. You know, like I did not know I need it, you know? But yeah, that was a fun one. And then I thought like, oh, we could make a roast red pepper and make it like a heart in between the ribs, and then make it look like it's getting stabbed, so it's Halloweenish. And then we have the Ouija board, so it captures seances, you know, the whole vibe that they had. So yeah,
that was a good one. Looks good. I'm gonna try that one soon.
Yeah, there's some fun ones, and there's been some really cool ones where I do I learn how to make a lemon pepper wings, chicken stroganoff. I mean, gosh, there's just so many different. I didn't know that there's a way that you make chicken and pastries instead of chicken and dumplings. That's a whole nother thing I did not know until I interviewed Chris Matthews. And she was like, it's chicken and pastries. And I was like, is it chicken and dumplings? And she was like, no, it's different because you're making it like longer and thinner. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's a whole nother thing. So it's just learning all these different things, which I love.
I think you've discovered the best culinary school there is. You get to experiment with all this stuff and learn so much, and you get to do it with people who are, you know, are talented musicians and songwriters. I think that's incredible. I wonder, I know you've been doing this for some time, so now probably people find you and come to you, but like, how do you get connected with these artists, or how did you get connected with them in the beginning, and how's that sort of evolved?
So a combination of things. I have no shame, so I definitely slide in DMs and just say, oh my God, can I get an interview? You know, so for some people I do that. And then a couple PR firms and different people in PR have caught my site, and so they will send me artists. So I do have that funnel coming. And then kind of organically, some artists I've featured in the past, they're either collaborations with other artists. I'll reach out to those artists and say, hey, I did an article on this artist. Would you be open to doing that experience? And they say, oh, I saw that article. I loved it. Yes, I would totally love to do the, you know. So it's a lot of organic reaching out and, you know, just kind of hoping I can connect the dots with that. And then, like I said, some PR firms, and then some artists refer me. And sometimes I'll get, the artists will refer their friends and say, hey, you got to do this experience. It's really fun, you know, and so they'll email me and say, hey, I heard about this. And so it didn't start out that way. I will say at the beginning, I was like begging for people to do features with me because I had no real history. And so I was like, speaking to the concept, and sometimes for some it's hard to even wrap your brain around what I'm trying to do, you know. But as I've moved along over the past few years, most recently I'd say the past 3 years, it's picked up more and more. The past year has picked up exponentially, and so that's where I've had more and more articles, more and more artists willing to vouch for my behalf to help me get features and things like that. So yeah, that's what I do. And I still slide into people's DMs if I think their music is amazing and I don't have a out in there, I just reach out, you know. What's the word I can say? No, you know?
No, you're right. I think that's great. I guess I'm sort of still in the begging guest part because I just started this. I just started this some months ago. But you know, it's picked up pretty well for me. Like my whole shtick, I guess, is that I try to get media credentials to go and shoot a show, photograph and video, and then I try to meet as many of those artists as I can and tag them in my photos, and then see if they'll also come on the podcast. So that's sort of the natural sort of production line or channel and stuff for me.
Yeah.
But I think what's cool is like, I think I found you because some of the people that I've seen in concert and taken pictures of and had on my podcast have also found their way to you, either as followers or as guests or as, you know, people that you've interviewed and have inspired to dishes. I just released just today, just this week, an interview with Panther Style, the Chicago
I
band.
love Panther Style.
You had them last
Yeah,
year, and I saw that they had a recipe for Chicago Italian beef, which Chicago Italian beef sandwich, which interests me both because of the Panther Style connection, and also my wife and I just love the Bear show, which is of course based in Chicago and has a very strong connection with the Chicago Italian beef sandwiches. So but yeah, like I think it's great. Like I think that's how I found you, is because we have some common friends.
Yeah, I love Panther Style. They're awesome. And that feature, I had to make it gluten free. So the bread was gluten free in it. Figuring out how to make Italian beef authentic, because people from Chicago don't mess around. They're not bullshitting. You know what I mean? So then I can't make some bullshit Italian beef for them. And then I tried to shoot it kind of in a darker lighting because their vibe and their energy. So but they were so fun and really, really nice people. Just an awesome band to talk to and interview with. So I had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, they are really fun. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, I probably haven't, but I just released an episode where I talked with them on my podcast just this week. So yeah, it's awesome. They've got new music coming out, so you might have to have them back. They've got a new album coming out soon. Great band. Love those people. Just really fun, really kind people.
Yeah, really, really good. And sometimes you get some that are a little, they're all good musicians, but sometimes it's hard to find the motivation, but I push through. But they're one of the bands that you just love, like genuinely really love,
That kind of leads into my next question, and I'm not going to ask you to say any names for this one, because it's great to shout out people who we think are great. But I want you to tell me a story about someone who was difficult, and not name them, but like someone who, just they're in terms of like finding something that really meshed with their personality or that kind of thing. Like do you have sort of a story like that?
I have a few of those. So where I'll get a band where only one person might come on for the interview and they're not very engaging or they don't have anything. And that makes it hard for me to create something, right? It's like one person out of a band of 5 people and I don't really have any content. Nobody's really responsive. So that makes it kind of hard. Those are the most difficult to work with. That's only happened a couple times. But when that happens, I really have to decide if I have to go forward with the feature or not, because I don't have enough content, and that's up to the band, right? So if they're not willing to give me any content, I don't have anything to write off of, I need to move on to the next feature, But I try to pull as much.
Yeah. Has there ever been one like that where it required a lot of sort of input, improvisation on your part, and it was such a sort of a discovery that like what you ended up putting on the plate at the end and taking a picture of, you felt like it expressed you as much as it did the band or the musician, because you were putting so much of your own insight and inspiration into it?
There's been a couple where they give me little tidbits, and then I go in and really, really have to almost pull it out of them. And then for me, because I think some people are willing to share some, but they don't realize how much. I feel like a lot of people are foodies and they don't realize they're foodies. That's how I'll say it. And so sometimes they'll say things that are like, I'm not that big of a foodie, but I love X, Y, and Z and this particular dish, or I love cheesecake and I love cookies and I love this. Oh, well, that's a great way to fuse it. I can totally make something really cool with that. But they kind of play it off or in the beginning, and then I have to kind of pull from them, and then I create something. So yeah, it's a mashup. It's kind of like we're mashing together in those features, because I'm taking little bits of what they're giving me and then creating something all together.
As much as it reflects the people in the band and their style and their personalities, it also is a little bit of you. So it's a little bit, it's got that, especially if you're a fan, like a big fan of a band, and you're putting some of yourself into it, it's almost like the whole band experience, because you're getting the band and you're getting a fan sort of from a fan as well, which I think is pretty cool.
Absolutely. It's a fun, overall, I have a really great time doing this, and usually the musicians are extremely gracious and really, really friendly. I will say though, I don't release anything without their approval. So I think that they're appreciative of that too, where I say, look, like, I'm going to do this write up. I'm going to create the recipe. I'm going to send it to you before I release it publicly. You approve it, and then I'll release it. And I've gotten so many people that are surprised that I'm willing to do that. But they're trusting me with their story. And so I want to make sure that it's accurate to them. I want it to be in a positive light for them. You know, all of that.
Yeah. So, have you ever had a situation where you've had a band or a musician who says, but you show it to them and they say, I have to taste it before you can do it. Like I have to make it myself and taste it and make sure it tastes good. Like, have you ever like had that, or do people, or even after the fact, if you put something out there and then the artist makes it themselves using your recipe and they give you feedback and say, you know what, this tasted so good. I made it and just like, it's amazing.
Yes, absolutely have had that. Well, I haven't had the one where I send the feature and they want to taste it beforehand, but they do get excited and surprised with what I come up with. So that's always fun because I don't tell them what I'm going to do a lot of times. And so they read the article for the first time, they see the food I've made for the first time. And so that's fun for them too, to see that. But then I've had Abigail Oakley, Feral Tact, and a few others that have been so generous and kind that they've actually cooked the recipe and then posted it on social media, and they've all shared that it was awesome. That's exciting for me to see, like, the creation, and they make it themselves and stuff, and that's fun. I love that. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to be honest, and again, you don't have to name names here or anything like that.
He's trying to get off.
Have you ever made something that you wouldn't eat yourself or that you just didn't like? It wasn't to your personal taste or something like that. Like you made it because it represented the artist, but it's just not your favorite.
I've had a couple things like that. I've had a couple of dishes where it's good, and as far as like, if you had the palate for the dish, it is on the correct flavor profile, right? But it's not on rotation for me because, just full transparency, I try to be gluten-free, I try to be sugar-free. That's really hard being a food blogger doing that, you know what I mean? I'm very lucky that my husband is not, and so he tastes a lot of my foods. And then I taste quite a bit too, but I try for the most part to stick to that. So there's quite a few that I don't have in my daily rotation, just to be honest, because of my own diet. But I think overall, I've had some stews and things like that I've made that are great, but I wouldn't personally keep them on rotation all the time. But they're the favorites of that artist, so you know.
Yeah. So who else besides your husband are your favorite testers, your taste testers? You have kids, right? I see you've got
my son.
Some games in the background. You have a son. Does he like to taste what you make? Does he
does.
enjoy it?
It's pretty funny because when I'm cooking, he's always like, is that going to be a Lhyme feature, Mom? Or is that for the house? Which one? Are you cooking for the family or are you cooking for Lhyme? And he loves tasting and trying different things. You know, I've done like butter chicken and different dishes that are, you know, ethnically different or from different cultures. And so it kind of exposes him to different foods that we wouldn't normally make. And you can't always think of every rotation. So like I'm Persian by ethnicity. I can't think of every possible dish that I could make. And so exposing him to those, it's been cool because he gets to see that. Of course, he has his requests. Like, he's like, can you get AJR, Mom? Can you interview them? I'm like, oh my God, that's a massive band, you know? But he does give me his feedback and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great too. You talked about sort of getting a taste of different regions, different countries, in some cases, different cultures and things like that. Because sometimes eating food is the maybe the easiest, maybe the cheapest way to travel, right? Because you get a taste of a place and a culture and things like that. I think that's an incredible way to bring up, you know, a child experience some of that. Because so many times, you know, they're not getting that. Yeah. Now, do you travel much?
I do. We love traveling internationally and domestically. I love, like, I'm Persian, so I do enjoy, going to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Middle East. I have family living in Singapore, so I enjoy traveling there. Just trying the different foods there. Europe is wonderful, Latin America. And then also here locally in the States, there's some really great. I mean, I'm in Nashville, so we have hot chicken, which is, I mean, the touristy vibe, but we have an amazing immigrant food scene here. And we have a lot of amazing soul food restaurants, meat and threes, just some great Southern food. And then there's just the regional stuff in the U.S., from Chicago to New York to, Texas, all these different areas that you can, and even something as simple as pizza, I've learned through this. So many people have their very specific crust and specific pizza style that they eat, and that's just, Chicago style. There's thin crust, there's deep dish, there's a St. Louis style, there's a New York style, there's, in Nashville there's a whole different vibe. So it's just, I feel like there's so many variations to different things, and so it's cool. Yeah.
I feel like the two ends of the spectrum that get most talked about are Chicago versus New York. You got the deep dish versus the floppy slice that you kind of fold up and eat in New York.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I do love that. I like both. I have to be in the mood for either, but I can appreciate both. And I do like the Chicago thinner crust too. I had that last time and I was there and I really liked it. It was good too. It's not as floppy as New York.
is that a guilty pleasure sort of food for you, pizza? Or what would you say? You put out all this crafted food on your blog and it's just like, a lot of it looks very complex and just very, again, very delicious, but like I don't think I could ever make it look like that. And probably a lot of people think that, but when you're not making the camera ready food, what is your sort of guilty pleasure? What's the trash food that you eat?
Oh, I was going to tell you, I have a cheat food. I was like, I don't know if it would be a fine cheat food, but I have, because I'm from the South, I love a solid, bologna sandwich, but there's a method to it. Let me explain. So you get 2 slices of bunny bread that is slightly toasted with some Duke's mayo, American cheese, the bologna. Then you put some Golden Flake hot chips in that sandwich with pickled jalapenos, slice of tomato. That's the sandwich. And then you have Diet Dr. Pepper on the side. That is a wonderful experience. That's my favorite, and it's definitely bad, but it's just so good. It's so good. Yeah, it's got the crunch of the sandwich. It's got spice. It's got all the stuff. The saltiness. It's just bad for you. It's so good.
Now you're gonna have to make a really elegant version of that for your blog.
It's a shaved German bologna, little mortadella. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Do you think you could make something? Do you think you could do something on your blog inspired by Every.Thing.After?
I totally could. If I know okay, so you tell me, I'll interview you. What's your favorite, like, nostalgic dish? What's a dish that really sparks a sense of nostalgia for you?
I gave this some thought before I came on because I thought, how cool would that be if you were to do something like that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
One of the things that I kind of landed on is that, like, what do I like to eat, like, after a concert? I go to a lot of concerts, obviously, because I take a lot of concert photography and stuff. So I'm getting out of a show and it's really late. It's usually around, it's midnight or something like that, sometimes later. And so I'm looking for something that's open and also something that just, hits a certain spot, right? Mm-hmm. And so here in my part of the Northeast of Ohio, one of the places that I find open sometimes when I'm out traveling and going to shows is a Waffle House. And so I really like a waffle, and I also really like a spice. Sometimes, like, one of the things that I just really crave a lot of times is like a hot honey chicken and waffles kind of thing. Something like that. Something that's like a savory waffle, like something that's got like a bit of a maple syrup kind of taste to it. But how do you make that healthy, Shap?
Well, you could. Well, it could totally. I just happen to have some hot honey up in my pantry as we speak, so we could totally do a healthy version of it. Well, first, from the batter, as far as the chicken, we could totally do more of a gluten-free like batter on it. And then there's so many options you could do with the waffle batter to make it healthier as well. As far as even from sweet potato to all kinds of different things to be able to get more complex carbs in the meal, so it's a little more well-rounded. So you could do that.
I would love to see your creation, your innovation of that, your elevation of that. I think that'd be great. Can you make an Everything After an ETA waffle, chicken and waffles with a bit of a savory flavor to it, some spice to it?
Yeah,
bit of maple flavor, spicy and sweet and sticky and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we could have it and do the shot with the honey kind of drizzling on it. My husband is my hand model, so sometimes I'll have him drizzling stuff or pouring stuff, or grabbing something with some chopsticks. So he could have him do a maple syrup drizzle on the waffles and the chicken. Absolutely, we could. What do you eat? Like, do you have snacks, or how's your daily looking like food wise?
Snacks are a weakness of mine. I try not to snack so much especially when I'm trying to diet. I try to stay away from snacks, but. Yeah. I have a weakness for peanut butter. I really like fruit. I like a tart cherry or like a sweet strawberry. I really like sour too. So like something that's got like a tart or sourness to it. Like I've discovered recently that you can get like sour candy, but that is not candy at all, but it's actually dried frozen fruit with like a sour coating on it. So like a sour like fruit candy, I think.
Yeah, in the freezer section, I've seen those. Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, so that kind of thing. Yeah, that would be my snacking choice.
Daily, what do you like to eat daily? Are you like how some people are like they eat bowls or grilled or wraps or smoothies? What do you normally like to eat?
I like a smoothie, more than a smoothie. A frozen strawberry lemonade. I love that. I really love like a lemonade.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm really into that.
We could do all kinds of stuff. Well, with it being summer, we could do a lemon ice. We could do chicken and waffle. You got some options, definitely.
This has been really fun talking to you and getting to know you. I feel like we're fast friends.
And a chance to make a new friend.
Anytime there's a chance to make a new friend, I agree. Like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
I love that. Yeah, I'm Shap Malek-Morvai. I'm the founder and blogger for Lhyme.com. I have a music and food fusion website where I interview artists from all over the world and create recipes about their food tastes. My ETA would be to continue meeting more and more artists and continue to cook and continue to make friends from all over the world and share the stories of all these amazing artists. I want to continue to do that, and I'm just going to continue to work through that on the site, continue to put more content out, and we'll see what happens from there. My goal is just, whatever happens, happens. I'm open to everything and any opportunity.
Hey, this is Scott Paris. I want to do a quick shout out for Every.Thing.After podcast.
And my ETA.
My ETA is.
And my ETA.
And our Everything After is.
Our Everything After.
And my ETA is.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I know you've been going through some stuff. I think we all have. And it's not all bad. But maybe there's enough of that you feel like putting something good back out in the world. Maybe you pick up a guitar or a camera. Maybe you decide to do a podcast or finally write that book. Maybe it's all of those things. It's not the things that happen to us that define us so much as everything after. And that's what we talk about on the Everything After podcast, where we have conversations with musicians and artists and filmmakers and writers, just creatives who are striving to keep their sanity by doing the things that they love and following their passions. If that sounds like you, we hope you'll join our Everything After community on Instagram. And like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast that release weekly on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thanks for listening. Until the next thing.